Okay, here we go.
Check. What's up,
Check,
everybody? It's your
What
boy
up?
DJ Spyda the Don, of course, with my big brother. This is very rare, y'all. He doesn't come to Central Florida. He always flies down south.
I do.
So I gotta give this man props for pulling up, being asymptomatic. You know what I mean? Also
Recently blessed.
recently blessed, you know what I'm saying? But this is Maine J. Buchanan,
Yep.
Mr. Everyday People, Mr. Sesmoir.
C'est moi.
My bad.
C'est moi.
I'm working on Spanish. I don't know French yet.
And I'm not Mr. Everyday People. I'm a part of the team effort collective. You know?
I appreciate that.
One of the individuals that's helping support it, bring the culture out to people.
That's what's up. If you have never been to Everyday People, I think everybody needs to go to at least one, no matter where you're from. If you go to LA, just kick the mic back and then.
Okay.
If you go to LA, you go to Atlanta, you go to New York, of course. That's where it's originally originated, right?
Mm-hmm.
DC, Miami. These states locations.
Let's see. New York, Miami, Oakland, LA, DC, Charlotte. Am I forgetting? I feel like I might be forgetting. But those are some of the local markets. If any more come to mind, I'll drop them.
Keep talking.
There.
I'm munching
Just
down.
munching? Yeah. Those are some of the local markets. We were supposed to do Houston for the first time. We've been trying to do Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And those are some of the few that we've been blessed to be able to go to.
And they do international as well.
Yes. So got a chance to go to South Africa, Johannesburg, and Cape Town. Zanzibar, which is actually one of
Kenya too?
We did Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we also did. What do I feel like? Did I miss one? Did I miss one? We did Nairobi, Zanzibar, and in South Africa. Oh, sorry, Ethiopia, Addis Ababa.
Oh yeah. Definitely, guys. Definitely a celebration of multi-international culture, Pan-African culture, Pan-Caribbean culture. Leon, stay away from the dip. Let's move this over here. Definitely something that I think everybody who's looking to be involved in something that's African American or Black experience, it's something that you should at least do one time. I feel like it's something that you do it, you understand different cultures. It's a clash of cultures, Caribbean, African, hip hop, R&B. It's something that I feel is definitely something that everybody should experience at least one. It's cool that my brother's a part of the team. I go whenever it's in Miami.
Yeah, you do.
But I think, honestly, for anybody, and plus my friends from up north in New York, I'll be sending y'all on missions trying to find this guy. And none of y'all have ever done it so far. But
I'm not hard to find, but maybe I am.
I try to give him, he kind of looks like me, kind of a little shorter than me. He got a little beard, got a little gray. No one's done it.
No one's done it. But, it's all good. I'm here.
Yeah. So you've been traveling, man, during this pandemic, of course. But, due to your asymptomatic status, due to your antibody status, what have you been seeing in these markets that you go to because you have friends there? How do you think people have been responding? Because, of course, you're here in Orlando. You kind of see what's going on in Florida right now. But these other markets you went to, Atlanta, California, you've been around. So what have you been seeing?
Yeah, I think every market is different. Everybody's kind of in their own way dealing with it. Being in New York, which was the epicenter of it all, it was... And then also me being from the Bronx, which at one point had the highest fatality rate in the nation. So it was definitely pretty interesting, especially from a personal level. So I think everybody's trying to find their own ways to kind of figure out, with the coronavirus and, what they should be doing. It obviously starts from a personal setting, what works good for you. So I think everybody's kind of been flowing with that. In other markets, once I finally got a chance to leave, LA had just opened up when I got there, but I think for the most part, it's pretty much somewhat the same. LA is obviously a different culture. You got just the weather's pretty amazing. You got more access to outdoor space, so it's a different way of living and dealing with it versus in New York where everybody's on top of each other. Same thing in Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot more open space as well. Definitely as I've progressed through and things might continue, you see how different places are dealing with different things. So whereby in LA, People were definitely, that was the first time I actually got a chance to go to brunch somewhere outside. So
How paranoid were you?
I wasn't too paranoid because just in general, I'm pretty optimistic in nature. So and I've always been pretty cautionary. So it was just kind of like a feeling of like going to the restaurant and them having a dedicated table where they would drop off all your stuff, and then you had a dedicated table where where you can eat. So they tried to limit the kind of interactions, and all the staff wear a mask. So they trying to limited those interactions. So that was interesting. In Atlanta, which is a little bit more, out there,
Just the South in general, let's be honest.
Just the South in general. Like as soon as I got in the airport, some people had masks on, some people didn't. People were like walking down the street holding hands. Obviously they must have been together if they're doing that. But
they've already done worse.
So people making out in public at certain times. So, it definitely was a different experience there in Atlanta. But in all the places, I didn't really venture too far out in the general public. It was me staying like close to friends and close people that I know, and kind of like just, engaging with people. I think it was somewhat, just in the nature of how I am and just kind of very social. Mm-hmm. It was just really cool to kind of get out there and see some friends and see what they've been up to, and, and just kind of give that social community that's been lacking, in quarantine the last 2 or 3 months.
I really think the fact that you actually went out, my dog's licking the mic stand. Chill out. Hope we don't get no paint poisoning. All right, chill out. But I really commend you for actually going out and doing what you need to do to kind of see, because like you guys actually do these markets. You need somebody to actually go see how it's opening, how is it going if y'all want to reopen or do another event. So I actually, even though that wasn't your main goal, I know
it wasn't.
It's good. It's good that you can kind of communicate that back to your team. You guys can kind of plan around. And one thing I've been honestly surprised about, not just from you, but from many other brands, is the way that you guys have been able to engage in creating content during this timepiece. Using your connections, using the people who have performed at your event, using people who are creatives at your event, painters, dancers, whatever, to be a part of your platform, and also just give something little bites of something that they probably haven't seen behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think everybody during this time been trying to find their voice and everything, and it definitely started with quarantine and COVID, and trying to figure out, especially you as a creative, like, what is it that you want to say? How do you want to say it? Like, and this is all relatively new times, so there's no exact blueprint to kind of figure out where that space is or where you want to commit your time and commit your space to. So, I think definitely for myself, for myself to start is, it very much was just kind of like, taking the time out and seeing, getting a chance to kind of like just see what I wanted to commit myself to or connect with in that way. What up, Leon? So, it's definitely in that case. And as it pertains to everyday people as well, it's just kind of like seeing, what we want to discuss with and connect with in the community. So we came with something called community sessions. Mm-hmm. So that's where we basically did a series of talks, and we focused on kind of trying to be able to be a resource for individuals. And that's having financial literacy talks, wellness talks, therapy talks. And that was specific to, around when coronavirus was kicking off, So, and the stuff, well, we haven't moved on to the protest stuff. So let me stay on.
We're going to get there.
Let me stay on the obviously, coronavirus, side of things.
Hey, stop slobbing on him. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Leon, I ain't got nothing.
Go to bed. I love you though, bro.
So
he's now become a part of the show. So if anybody knows, this is Leon. Follow him on Instagram.
Leon got Instagram?
Yeah, he got Instagram, bro.
Damn, I didn't know that.
King Leon, TTB. You know what I'm saying?
What's the TTB mean?
Tennessee Dream Brindle. That's his breed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's a Brindle mix. You know what I'm saying? My baby boy right here. If you can see his little white right here. Let me stop bragging on him. Go to bed, Leon. Go to bed. But I want to, like I said, I want to give you a round of applause.
Ooh, we got applause.
Yeah.
Social distance. Don't be too close to clapping to each other.
Listen. Let me just tell you something. He may be my big brother, but he can get some love from me. Then we'll be cracking jokes a little bit later on. But I feel like it's very, very interesting the fact that you've been able to travel around, see different things, and we've been having conversations about many different things that have been going on right now during this time period. So once again, commendations. I don't know how much involved with the ideas that they did, but I feel like it's very dope that you're a part of a brand that decides to use their platform, in this time period to give people actual advice, not just advice, but like lessons that we don't know. We don't talk to each other as far as in the Black community about this financial literacy and stuff to do as far as voting rights and stuff like that. And then definitely bigging up creatives. So like,
yeah. So I mean, it definitely has been, because we have a community of creatives. So I think, me being a creative myself, but coming from a business background, so it was definitely, I might have a little bit more, knowledge and understanding of, what to do when the financial faucet closes off. So, and, having gone through it myself. So going through it this time, collectively as a society was just kind of, it wasn't anything, I wasn't, getting too crazy about it. But at the same time, I know other individuals, that was their first time kind of dealing with something like this. And especially whereby, all industries, all areas are cut off. So, for us to be able to take some time out and do like a therapy talk to kind of, get people to understand about, committing to their wellness, as well as a wellness talk to understand what they should be doing, especially individuals who are concerned about their health or their family's health or their friends' health and with the coronavirus. And then also just getting understand from a financial literacy aspect of what is it that you should be focusing on, or what are the areas that you could look to get resources, towards. So I think all of those stuff, we're good to have. We also did guided meditation and we did a sound meditation as well. So
this is on Instagram Live, y'all. So they put it out to the masses. I feel like anybody who understands the brand will understand that is very kind of, it's on point. It's very definitely, because if you don't know, you come to everyday people, you see people not just having fun, not just drinking, but celebrating their culture. And Black culture is many different things that involve yoga, involves different dancing, involves different literacy, financial literacy opportunities, involves different types of creatives. So once again, like I feel like you've done your team has done a very good job of putting not just making a brand do something, but making something match the brand, which is hard for some people to do.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I think it's during this time, it can be very difficult for any brand to figure out, or any person who's sitting there, representing themselves as a brand, to figure out, how do they talk to their audience? How do they talk to the community, in a way that's authentic, that you don't feel that you're just jumping up and saying something because you have to. So I definitely, on our end, we took our time to figure out what that could be, and then focused on specifically, what we could kind of do best. So, setting up the community sessions was same way how we organized any kind of event. It was basically just kind of, connecting with individuals, organizing, giving them a moment. Some individuals never did IG Live before.
Yeah.
So it was going back and doing like test sessions, doing sound checks, having conversations.
Versus y'all could have learned.
Well, I'm
Teddy
not,
Riley.
I'm pretty sure they tried to do that in advance, but day of, you just never know how things are gonna go. Like that's with any, and events, like you plan for the best and you try to prepare for the worst, but you just never know when you're on the on switch, So, no shade to you, Teddy Riley. I know you were trying to do your best, but in the moment, things kind of happen.
Yeah, and your reaction was just hilarious. So speaking of that, as being somebody who does more business side, understanding of the brand and how to do that, what art, not just artists, but what hip hop, music related entertainment brands do you think have found a way to speak to their market, has found a way to do it right, and what things, if you were to coach an artist on how to do that, what would you suggest?
In general, or during this virus epidemic?
Just something like this, something where they don't have the ability to travel. Maybe not the coronavirus, but maybe something that's similar, not as it.
I mean, I think
drastic.
I think going back to kind of what you're mentioning about verses, I think what they did, was something very, granted it was new, or from what I understand, they were trying to get it off prior, but I think being able to just leverage technology in a way where you apply the same things that already exist, and you try to make it happen. Like, it's funny that prior to the coronavirus, I was sitting there one day. I was in a Uber heading home, and then I got a notification. This is maybe like, top of the year. I got a notification that two of my friends were on IG Live at the same time.
Yeah.
And I had never,
I've seen that. Yeah.
I've gone on IG Live before, but it was just like two friends on IG Live, and I'm just like being a fly on the wall, kind of like experiencing, like their conversation. I'm not in it, but I'm just like kind of like seeing it and experiencing it. So I was like, oh man, this medium is something that, it should find a way to kind of like involve in, there's some way. So I remember I was brainstorming and like, okay, how, and I was thinking about everyday people. I didn't know specifically how we can do it, but I had the kind of idea, like this is a platform that there could be some potential, and then coronavirus hits, and then boom, everybody's doing IG Lives that probably never did IG Lives, and I think what they were able to do with Versus was leverage that same platform. Obviously, they had individuals and artists, who were well known to kind of get that exposure. So I definitely think that was amazing. It was amazing what D Nice did, in that community, in that space as well. So, those were kind of like some of the cool things that I saw, that people just kind of like leveraging, things that were already in place and just finding a ways to be creative. Like Tory Lanez, with Quarantine Radio, which,
unplugged mic,
which I did, which I believe I want to say Boosie, didn't he kind of kick that off?
Yeah. No, put it on live. Yeah, man.
But I think
Tory Lanez, you owe Lil Boosie.
Well, I think like
a little bit. Have him on the show.
Put it like this: like this, everything starts from someplace, and then other individuals they get involved and they elevate it to where they use it and elevate it to another place. And that's what creativity is.
By the way, our little sister says, "Hey,
what up, little sis?
Mima?
Where's she at?
She knows she's back home.
There we go.
She can't go nowhere.
Oh wow.
I'm saying she walking watermelon.
Oh,
love you, sis.
She is not a walking watermelon.
Maybe not.
She's
yet.
queen.
Yeah, you a queen. Love you. I know you're gonna hit me in my DMs and cuss me out. But anyway,
Love
keep
you,
going.
Mina. Yeah. So I definitely think those, that was those are some cool areas where I saw, individuals kind of like going off and doing stuff. And there was a lot of them as well, but I thought those was interesting, and there might, there definitely is some other brands that I'm trying to think they're probably not coming to mind on, but as I said, it was definitely difficult, during a pandemic, during quarantine, and just kind of figure out and realigning things. Like everybody's working from different places, you got individuals, and a lot of things, were contingent on you being able to do things, you being able to pay people, but guess what? You're in a pandemic and things are shut off. And so you need to like switch and pivot and learn and whatnot. So, there definitely were a lot of different areas, and a lot of different, things that were done that I thought were pretty interesting.
I'll say one thing. I've mentioned this earlier. I think one thing I've noticed that the people who are maybe the ones who actually not maybe originated but did it well. Like D-Nice DJing on Instagram is not really new, but he did it well.
Yeah.
And then everybody and their mama jumped on Instagram, started DJing, and I was like, should I do it? No, because it's just you got to get it before the market gets saturated.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'll be real with you. I think y'all guys were the only ones doing something like wellness based. You know what I mean? I don't think I've seen a lot of Instagrams, maybe somebody doing yoga, but not really doing multiple different things so you stayed fresh. I think overall coronavirus has definitely been a blessing for people who didn't know what to do with their brand, and been harmful to some who are just trying to throw anything out there and see if it sticks.
Yeah. So I mean, D Nice did it well, but also he has the the experience of being able to, and just the access and the connections for when he does decide to get on, go live, that a lot of people want to tune in. So, definitely big props, to him on what he did.
Has he ever done one of y'all's events?
No, he hasn't done. I think he's definitely been, and he's always been a supporter. And, D Nice is somebody that if you ever get a chance to meet him, he's super, down to earth and cool. He's, even him doing mega stuff, he's still just kind of like, D Nice. So, it was really good to see someone like that who's just kind of like been a part of the culture for a very long time, like, hip hop for a very long time, DJing for quite some time, to, get on IG Live and create experience for everybody, and get introduced to a whole new audience, and create something that, was necessary and needed. So I definitely think that, its timing was cool, and think he was just definitely the person that was best for kind of to do that, to bring everybody together, to bring different generations together, and bring different individuals in the room together to kind of like just vibe out. And he committed 8-9 hours of his day to do that. I don't know how many DJs are doing that.
I don't know. I'd say there's some DJs who just jumped on and just played music. They didn't have the sound correct, but they were just getting on the bandwagon. But you can definitely tell the difference between DJs who actually gave that time and craft and understood how to make quality out of it. And one thing I'll tell anybody, quality shone through.
Yeah.
The quality definitely showed through. And I'll say anything that I enjoyed it because the people who had quality, the people who had something good to look at, not just the music, but something like maybe they did like a DJ with, there's people who have like the path where they have like on the screen, they show like the music lines when they're mixing, or they do the music video DJing. Like people who actually did something that's creative and gives you something that more than just a show is definitely something awesome. And I really think that, the more people who, even at this time period, who can find something to do unique, like people who've done like the IG brunches, which is a little twist.
Yeah.
People have done like different ideas and keep it fresh. I think that's dope. So yeah, man. So let's start getting real.
Are we?
All right. So okay.
Were we being fake before?
I mean,
what was going on?
Started from the bottom. Now we here.
Damn. Okay. We're getting real.
Hey, look, they didn't have no gunshots on this. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but don't shoot them at the black people.
Hey, man, you're right. So I wanted to kind of, since we are two different, we're brothers, but we're kind of two different generations.
Yeah.
You do outrage me as you see the salt and pepper in his beard.
That's right, baby.
Let me tell you, my girlfriend is still trying to find a white gray hair in my beard. I refuse.
Just own it when it comes.
So I wanted to kind of talk about your thoughts on the whole movement, because when I was younger, 20 years old, you were like kind of around my age when Trayvon Martin kind of got hit. And I don't know if anything happened in a major way, maybe not as big as social media happened when you were like in your 20s as well. What kind of thing have you seen in the movement? How do you envision how this moment has shifted entertainment culture as well?
Well, I mean, the first kind of, I was 12 years old when Rodney King was getting beat down, right?
I think I was just maybe conceived. I don't know.
Maybe you were.
Was that in 1989?
That was 92.
I was 3 years old.
Right. So that was kind of like, and I didn't really understand what was going on when I saw the looting.
It was real. You're like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my God. And I was like, it was me and my mom watching it, and I was like, man, I just saw people running out with TVs and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, man, I want a TV. And then she like slapped me. And she was just like, she's like,
stereotypical Caribbean mom.
She's like, what? And then she kind of like just like made me understand that, like, like.
She didn't need to slap you to understand, but she proved the point.
She proved the point. At 12, I was just thinking I want a TV.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily. So she just made me understand. Definitely, that's not how she raised me in that kind of context. Yeah. So. You shouldn't be going in there running and stealing things. Mm-hmm. So that was my first kind of like understanding and seeing, everything was going on. And I wasn't aware fully of what was going on. Mm-hmm. Like I saw the video footage of him getting beat by the police, and then I saw looting happening. I wasn't paying attention closely.
Didn't know like the context.
Clearly the looting happened, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but the looting happened, well, of course you wouldn't remember.
I was 3, bro.
But the looting happened after the verdicts were sent down. That's when all hell broke loose. Mm-hmm. So that was the first kind of time where it's like, okay, what's going on? And then, with Trayvon Martin, and when that popped off, I was older, and that one probably it had like a different lens on it. because it was it was happening. Like the first one happened in L.A., which is somewhat of a bigger market, and the Trayvon market happened in a smaller market.
Yeah, it happened right here down the street in Sanford.
So I think that exposure and where the media kind of paid attention to it wasn't on as big a level of what happened previously on why I was sitting in my, so, a lot of the stuff that was going on, I think that's when social media, was able to highlight the things that you weren't seeing, on the network news because they weren't talking about different things, you know. So I think that's when definitely you can see the impact and the power of social media in that way, And there were definitely protests going on in New York. There were protests going on all over the place.
And especially then Eric Garner happened a little close around that time.
Yep. And then Eric Garner happened. And it's, obviously I think there's a certain things like this, sadly enough, have been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's very sad that it's been going on, before me, and just certain things that the media wasn't covering that were happening in communities, and it's very sad. And I think, it's a consistent area that we see that's continuing to happen. And, it's every single time that something happens and we have to relive it and think about our experiences all over as a community. And then seeing how no one's talking about this and, obviously, get up and then try to figure out a way to do something about it, to gain exposure to it and get more people to see what's going on in your community, to see to try to make changes. So it definitely was interesting. And I think, currently, I think this is definitely probably unprecedented, and everything. And I definitely feel that because of, us being in quarantine, everybody had a lot more time to sit back and view things and see things and take it all in, versus, you seeing something on the news on, Monday or Tuesday, and then you
gotta go to work.
And you go to work, and then you're dealing with your own things. Like everybody had to sit back and deal with this and look at this at the same time, on all different kind of levels, globally as well. So, this definitely was an unprecedented time to kind of like, have that same kind of like exposure that all the previous things had as well.
Yeah.
But
I think it was more like a magnifying glass, really.
Definitely.
Like I feel like once social media got involved, the ability how rapidly it passed around the world.
Yep.
And just the immediacy of the need of the urgency of the need that needed to get passed around was something unique.
Yeah.
And of course, like when I was a kid, my mom taught me about Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm.
She taught me about Medgar Evers.
Yep.
And understanding how that kind of goes. Plus, I think also for you and me, we grew up in different contexts because you're in the Northeast.
Yeah,
which they still have their racism issues.
Yeah,
but in a southeastern context, I view that prism a lot more straightforward than probably you do.
Yeah. I think we definitely being in the North, which is considered more liberal. So like it's not as direct as what you might experience. Low
key, I like the directness.
You like? I mean, I wouldn't be mad at the directness.
Fuck you, nigga. All right, I'm going home.
I personally, I don't think I can't recall. I don't have a memory or a feeling of anybody directly calling me, any white person directly calling me a nigger. Yeah. It could be something that I might have blocked.
Bro, that happened to me in like 7th grade.
Oh wow. What was like that? What was that like?
So, of course, it was like a derivative of the N-word. It was niglet.
Oh wow. Oh.
So
a derivative.
Yeah, but the thing was like, as a kid in the South, you're like you're so pro. Like when she says the N-word, the Nigger, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Niglet, what?
Yeah.
I was so confused. I started crying.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, what do I do? And the thing what's crazy is, she was like Hispanic. So she wasn't even a real white girl. She was a Hispanic girl.
Got you.
So I was like, I know what white people would say that, and now you are brown. How do I? And it was over something like trivial. Like, by the way, if you're tuned in, please share It's Back podcast. You know what I'm saying? Please share on Facebook. I was just so confused because I've never thought of a Mexican person harboring, a Hispanic person harboring that ill intent before. And then when you grow older, you understand the process of colorism in the Caribbean with Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, and within the black culture itself.
Yeah.
So you learn more of the nuances.
Yeah.
And so like just that first experience was like, I had since I cried, I was like real sensitive as a kid. But then I kind of understood how to harden myself and like prepare yourself when things happen. Because then I went to school in Mississippi and played for a school that was mascot the Confederates. By the way, we're trying to get that thing changed. If you're a Caledonia alumni, please hit me up with your minute to 30-second a minute video so we can make this video for the school Caledonia, the Lowndes County School Board. All the alumni, if you want that name changed, we're gonna do that. Mm-hmm. But like just going through the South, seeing the banners, witnessing the racial tension, like. Even for example, like I was a backup quarterback, and my head coach wouldn't let me practice quarterback until one game our starter got hurt, and I threw the game winning touchdown. But the thing was like it was like if you would have let me, and then the season my actual season was kind of up and down. But if you would have let me practice throughout the season, I would have been more successful. And then I eventually outplayed them in like spring ball. But then I moved back to Florida. It's like, okay. But it's like just seeing kind of. Like I'm saying, like it might be direct, it might be undercoded. Like that to me, that was like kind of undercoded.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we're good. You can just go play defense. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that it's weird. It's weird, and definitely for as a 30-year-old, I have a different eyesight on how to divulge it and see it and dissect it when it happens. So like, as far as the low key racism that happens in the Northeast. Especially in the music spaces, I guess, entertainment spaces. What do you experience? What do you see?
I mean, it is low key. I mean, let's see, especially in the kind of like the entertainment and social lane. I mean, you talk about things like you have venues that they're especially first time me kind of like getting introduced to kind of New York City nightlife, and you see the energy of. When you go to certain kind of clubs versus others, and you see kind of like who they're letting in and who they're not letting in. Yeah. You see that energy. You also see clubs change from, one day they're the hardest club to get into to the next day
everybody in their mom.
They're just they're having an urban party come in. Yeah. So
there's even like the pat down rule too.
Yep. There's pat down rules, and I think there were definitely a lot of different things that I saw, just kind of like when I was just kind of going out and seeing, the whole dynamic. And one of the very early on, one of the things that when I got introduced to the New York City scene was, me going to New York Fashion Week, me being a part of these premium experiences, and also relating it to my previous experiences, of just kind of like a different kind of flavor. And most of the places that I was, these new places, there were mostly white people in the room, and then seeing the different kind of treatment, seeing, even the whole, there wasn't even like a line. It was just kind of like a crowd of people.
Yeah, just let him in.
Oh,
you good?
It was just kind of like this whole, and it wasn't even about you pay your $20. It just kind of like, was who do you know or what was it's a different kind of dynamic. Yeah. It was a different, and it was definitely racial, and it was also class. Yeah. It was a different kind of spectrum on how they approach things, and you would see just kind of like who they would let in there. The different kind of how you see clubs go from, as I said, like one early in the year it's the hardest club to get into, and the next thing you know, it's like they just decided to like let artists and athletes in there, and it turns into a different kind of night. And there's stereotypes that go into both of those spectrums. So those are definitely interesting. Once we kind of started, when everyday people started getting popular,
the treatment was different.
The treatment was, we still had to like, deal with some of the same kind of issues, but it was also like, it it's not a good thing to be like, oh, your party is is different because it's a different kind of black, right?
Yeah. I hate when they say that.
Like
it's those kind of people.
Like I don't feel like those comments were those kind of like subtle kind of things.
Yeah.
Yes, fully aware of that, the fact that we as a black entity, that we want to be able to get into these premium spaces. We want to create experiences for everybody, for the community, because everybody should be able to have a really nice place to go and enjoy themselves, and we want to be representative of what, blackness is, on the multiple levels of what it is to be. But for it to be like, we don't really consider you guys a urban party, or you guys are a different kind of black, or, it's
just the audacity for them to say that, like,
so
who gives you the right to say that? Or even like, I'll give you even a context of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How in Tallahassee, which is the capital of Florida, and then also like at one point was the richest city in Florida due to the cotton trade. So at one point, Tallahassee isn't up there no more, but Tallahassee used to be like, just because of cotton alone.
Oh, wow.
Was like literally one of the top cities in the South, period.
Yeah.
But just seeing how my experience growing up, I would go to a venue called Coliseum on Saturday night or Monday night when it's Florida State night. No pat down, just walk in, just get a band, get a free drink. You know what I'm saying? A couple of tickets for free drinks. But then I go on a what they call a night for FAMU, which is like literally schools. They change the parties because of whatever school is mainly attending. So like, which I kind of get because the promoters are different. They're going to talk to that crowd, but then how they treat you as an audience. I mean, get pat down and get my nuts grabbed.
Yeah.
On a Saturday night, but meanwhile I was just there last week on Friday.
Yeah, totally different experience.
Totally different experience. And then definitely I know those promoters were getting hit over the head because they hit me over the head for 2030.
Yeah. It literally is a whole different dynamic on, on how they would treat you on race. So you can be one person or one entity, and you come into a club and they're like, don't worry about a bar guarantee, XYZ, because everybody's goal is to make money.
Yeah.
So, and whereby on the other side of the spectrum, they see black promoters and they know that they want to make money, but then they also have this concern of like, is my club going to get shot up? Yeah. Stuff's going to get broken, which is sad and unfortunate, that they are thinking like that. And then also that there has been some previous examples
of why they should sometimes.
Of why they are thinking like that. So, but
I've seen white people do some crazy stuff too.
100%. So, like, I think it's difficult, it's difficult on a lot of different layers because, you as a business owner, like, you're trying to like, make sure that your property is, and you also want to make money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the judgments and some of the stereotypical things that go on, and they hold obviously on the other individuals back. So, it's just an interesting dynamic on how it all. So to your point, there's some clubs you go into and you get, I would get patted down, and then, and there were mostly black events, other spots. And then by the way, you're talking about the levels of, drug use that was going on.
Not the same.
Like just way crazier. I'll give you it was a story. I was at this bar, and I was just sitting at this bar, and I was talking to this guy, and this is an interesting dynamic on how he was kind of like relating, class and race, and this is a black guy as well, talking to me, and he seemed to have the energy of just kind of like, he partied and hung out and preferred white spaces.
Okay.
And so, we just randomly were at a bar talking. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know him from anything, and then he just started talking about cocaine, right? And
I got an interesting story about that too.
He starts talking about cocaine, and he's like, oh, you probably smoke weed, and he's like, I can just go in the bathroom right now and just do a line, you have to go outside and roll it up. And, he just he was just like highlighting the different dynamics on the fact that, just the whole drug setup.
Yeah.
He can go in the bathroom and do this expensive ass drug
with the concierge sitting there looking at you.
He can go and he can do it.
Give you a rag to wipe your nose.
And whereby as and I've been in other events whereby like people are smoking weed and security runs you down, smacks it out your hand, they step on it.
Yeah.
You got to get exited out the club.
Like roughly.
It's a whole big show.
Meanwhile, some homeboy in the corner, Russian homeboy in the corner, drugged off his mind, smoking joints, split us back to back to back. Yeah. I've seen the craziest stuff.
So it just be crazy. I've been in clubs where, and there's different lingo that they ask you. Random white people. Would be like, you got any party favors? I
hate when they ask you that. Just because I'm a black guy. I've had that. I'm like, you got that on you, bro? I don't know you. Back up.
I think the last time was one maybe just last summer. Or maybe it was earlier this year. I can't remember, before everything kind of popped off.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like twitched his nose and he was walking by me like,
just
like, he didn't even use his finger. He just kind of like moved his nostrils up and down, and I was just like,
what?
I was like, I'm mad that I know what you're talking about. I was like, I'm mad that I know what you're talking about.
I'm mad.
I was like, how, like in my mind, I was like, what the hell? So it's just a crazy dynamic in terms of like race in the industry, especially doing events and, and XYZ. So, crazy.
Since you shared a story, I'm gonna share a story about one of my former teammates in college. So I went to school in the Northeast. For me, that was a culture shock going to Pennsylvania, like liberal arts school, really expensive.
Okay.
$200,000 education. Thank God I played football because I wasn't gonna pay that $200K.
Yeah.
But of course, you go to the sorority parties, and they don't have any black sororities. So the only sororities you got are the ones of the white sororities, which some of the black girls are in because there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
So like my former teammates at the sorority party, he's just like, yo, man, this is like the spring before I got to my freshman year. So he's one of the guys from Florida who like I first connected with on my visit.
Yeah.
Because he was a transfer, he went there a semester early.
Yeah. So
when we first met up, he's like he taught all the freshman black kids like, this is what I experienced. Yeah. Beware. So it was cool to have somebody who's coming in at your level and give you a little heads up. And so he's like, yeah, I went to this little sorority party and I tried to go to the bathroom. Like the door was unlocked, so I just walked in there. These white girls lift their head up, got cocaine, and they're you want some? He's like, closed the door and walked out.
I mean, that song, this is Pharrell's song, All the Girls Standing in Line for the Bathroom.
Yeah.
It's totally about
that. But it's definitely one of those things where like, and I've had instances where I went to parties and seen this happening.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you go to African-American parties, black parties, and our stuff is a lot cleaner. We're just about music, especially at that age. We're just about music. You might have somebody smoking some weed in the back, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not even about that level of drug use. And our stuff gets busted in the first like 20 minutes.
Yeah. No one's. I was definitely. Our events are definitely more about music, and it's not a drug fest, as someone tries to like make it seem like this. There's definitely more level of rampant drug use going on in some of these higher end clubs, that they have out there, and it's definitely crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to ask you, especially since we're talking about events, the cultural dynamics that make up everyday people. What kind of got y'all guys doing the worldly type of music? You can give people a background of what type of music they should kind of expect, what type of experiences they should expect if they were to make a trip to everyday people. Like, because I feel like as a black person, as a lot of black people, African American people, they're only kind of brought up to like maybe R&B and hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you guys choose to broaden your horizons as far as introduce black people all this different black made music from around the world?
Yeah, so that comes down to the cultural makeup of the team, primarily first as a base. So you have Sada, who's one of the founders, who's Somali, but grew up in Atlanta. You have Moma, who's also a founder and the founding DJ, who
shout out to Moma,
who is Sudanese, but then grew up in Paris. but then also spent most of his adolescent years in New York. Roble, who's Somali as well, and Somali and African American. So, he's growing up here. So I think all those different dynamics kind of like make up to kind of like, how,
My brother who's Caribbean, by the way, St. Kitts all the way. Just let you know,
And,
grew up in New York, from the BX. What's up?
Yeah.
You gotta shout yourself out. I'm gonna shout you out.
I was talking about the founders first, and then, obviously, those are the primary individuals to start with. But definitely, I think it starts there, and I think the vibes of what's to kind of like, if just kind of like as a DJ or someone who's curating music, that a day party is different than a night party, and that's a different kind of energy. That's different kind of music. So I think that's kind of like where some of the diverse kind of flow, came into play. Like, if you ever go into any kind of, any kind of experience, any kind of hotel experience, any kind of restaurant experience, the music kind of like sets the mood, and what they're playing during the day is different than what they're playing at night. So I think, it being a day party allowed, that the early vibes being somewhat more R&B, somewhat more world music. It's not necessarily, focused on this kind of dark energy that, some of the harder hip hop has. So, and then also, the Caribbean music that comes to, which specifically is, as island music is, it's like, during very bright. It's just that kind of energy. So I think, that helped kind of, make up the kind of musical landscape, and definitely, Moma gets a lot of props, for definitely not only himself having a broad musical background, but then also allowing the platform to have other DJs to come on and them bringing their own, musical.
Yo, Moma, I'm waiting for my turn, bro. I'm waiting for my turn, Moma.
Them bringing their own kind of like musical style to the forefront as well. So, it opens up to having a lot of different individuals come on and curate the sound as well. And then you learn, and then, you're being able to kind of like appreciate some of the different things. So I think that definitely was in the forefront of everything. And I also feel that the individuals that were attending, they were the individuals that were open to the whole dynamics of everything, and just kind of like, I think it's probably one of the first parties that, whereby you traditionally might go to a party and it's, I'll speak to the Caribbean, community, whereby, dance hall music is on and the people who love soca are sitting down, and soca comes on and the dance hall people are sitting down. Like, I think our events it's really cool to have like everybody embracing each other's music, and even if they don't know certain things or know certain sounds,
just go with the crowd.
You just kind of go with the flow, and then everybody's kind of like enjoying the vibe of just kind of being like that. And I definitely think that because it was a daytime experience, it allowed for more of that to happen.
I'd even say the fact that you involved international flavors is with food, because I know Roble does help curate that. And you involve not just black culture, but 1800 Lucky is like a street food, Asian. Is it Japanese or Chinese? Japanese?
It's I think they have a lot of different
different street foods from Asia. But definitely a street food place. The last place I went in Brickell was definitely a lot of street food style, but it was international as well.
Yeah,
there's just the combining of culture is very interesting. I've been trying to get him to come to Orlando, y'all. Like, I've been begging. It's out of his hands.
Well, all I said was, Orlando, just show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Look, I'm here. I know right now I'm gonna take him out tonight. We don't got no liquor because everybody messed up because everything happened.
We got the Ray and Neff in the
right now we got the Ray and nephew. I'm done drunk mine. So you over here sipping yours. Is yours gone?
I am done, my friend.
After this episode, we're going to drink.
yeah.
But definitely, I feel like just the fact that I feel like we have a big Caribbean audience here.
Yeah.
A big African audience here, and of course, when you go, like, your only event, it's on like a Saturday or Sunday, and like, or it's like a concert. Like, it's nothing that really kind of that makes people feel great or feel like their culture is fully represented. Because it's like it's maligned to one day. I like the fact that you guys incorporate artists, musicians, painters, and all that stuff, different experiences Meanwhile, nobody steal that idea because I will come get you because I'm on my brother's behalf, beat you down on behalf of everyday people. Just let y'all know.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk to the type of music that you've been influenced through everyday people. As far as like, what are you listening to now that you probably didn't pick up until you were in the thing? I've honestly, felt some type of way when I go. I'm always finding out somebody new. And the last time I went, we had Red Rat and a couple other.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Some artists performing like, oh, Red Rat. What?
Yeah. We had Red Rat. We had all those guys. Shout out to Salam Remy who set that all up. But
Took a picture with him, by the way.
Oh, as you should, man. He's a legend. Musically, I devour anything that sounds good. You know, I am somewhat of a, you know, just kind of like scouring and seeing what's next. I'm always paying attention to like what's going on. I want to say that maybe I'm trying to think like, you know, like I grew up around, you know, hip hop and R&B and dance hall and soca. So those were, you know, always familiar to me. So I always had like some kind of like exposure to different kind of sounds, and just kind of like being in different rooms and different experiences. Like, you know, even, you know, speaking to what I was saying earlier of going to different kind of clubs and being around a different audience, like, you know, you just hear different music and then you just be like, okay, what is this? And, you know, but not in a way where you're just like rolling your eyes, but just like, okay, well, you know, like this is different, you know, and you might not, you know, be aware of like, you know, why people are vibing to it.
Yeah.
So I've just been, I just give everything a chance. I listen to everything. I give it a chance. You know, I don't necessarily judge out the gate, you know, and I just kind of like introduced to a lot of things. Now, you know, I think, you know, in terms of, you know, Afrobeat definitely is something that's gotten a lot of exposure, and, you know, I've gotten a chance to be introduced to it, you know, 5-6 years ago, you know, like 6 or 7 years ago, you know, and, you know, that definitely was through, you know, MoMA doing that. Another guy, you know, named K Kess, who was doing it as well. So that got introduced to me early on, and I was like, you know, what's going on, and now I'm around it enough whereby I know what the artists are. Before I was like, I just knew certain songs.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely has been Afrobeat, and, you know, now kind of like going still on the continent now, you know, coming out of South Africa, there's a lot of music that's coming out. There's a musical genre called Amapiano. So that's a
Amapiano.
That's the
is they playing piano on it, or they just saying?
Then it has like kind of like a piano, but it's not necessarily specific.
I thought it was literal.
You know, it's not literal in that sense. But there's another sound that prior to Amapiano, which is, it's spelled GQOM, but it's pronounced om.
Kosa.
Yep. Boom. There you go. Oh, look at you, man.
Kosa.
So I always, when I go to different places, like literally, I'll be in a taxi and be like, "What are you listening to?" Play the hottest song that's in your local community. And, you know, I definitely feel that when you go to places and you hear the music that's coming out of there, you know, it definitely kind of like just opens up, you know, embracing culture, embracing the community, embracing what's going on. So that's one of the things, and that's no matter where I go. You know, you know, if I'm around in, you know, here in Orlando, I'm like, tell me who the local hottest artists are. Like, that's just in my nature of trying to figure out, you know, who's bubbling, who's got stuff going on, and it doesn't have to be, you know, it can be anything. You know, it can be anything, and, you know, I'm always appreciative of just kind of like the different sounds and the different things that are going on, because, you know, I know music, the creation of music in general, you know, comes from, you know, it predominantly a lot of it does come from the youth.
Yeah.
You know, they're the individuals that don't have a lot. They don't have all the
struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the technical know-how all the time. They don't have the equipment all the time, and so they're just like kind of like, oh, you know, just doing their own thing. You know, and in general, you know, the Black community, like, when we create things, we don't create things with with this idea of like, I want to be a millionaire. It's like literally,
happens.
I'm just like creating something. I just like doing this, and I'm just kind of doing this, and it's kind of fun, you know. So I just try to pay attention to anything, and you know, I appreciate Shazam now for just kind of like let me.
You're a Shazam user?
Oh man, I Shazam everything anytime, all the time, you know, all the time. So
as a DJ, I kind of find it as cheating.
Why? I mean,
I like, because like, stereotypically as a DJ, like, you're not supposed to be over the shoulder of another DJ looking.
So Shazam is like basically
Shazam is like kind of cheating.
So
It's kind of cheating.
But aren't you as a DJ curating the music, and so
But you're curating the music, but you're also curating the music to your taste.
yeah. So if you play a new song that no one knows, didn't you want people to know what that song is?
I'll eventually pass the word.
You eventually pass the word.
But the thing is, like, especially in the South, the biggest thing here is breaking the record.
Yeah.
So like, one of my things, especially when I was younger, I was definitely more a promoter of artists.
Yeah.
So I'll get artists to give me their music.
Yeah.
Pay me to not just like play the music, but to like get it on mixtapes, talk to other DJs, get them tastemakers, something like that. Take it around, go to other parties. House parties was my favorite thing. And I was at parties, I'll just DJ with other DJs, like, yo, what's that? And that's how you're like, okay, yeah, this is the artist. But they're not over here behind my screen, like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think the general person is not going to necessarily be, over somebody's screen or anything like that. But I
DJs
definitely
be doing that, bro.
some of them do be doing that.
I'll be with you. Like, my first time being around some other DJs, they used to blink their Serato screen.
Oh yeah. That is a whole kind of culture that you do. Yeah.
So like, just coming from that background, I'm kind of like, okay, I know. Some people you just pass the music to. That's definitely normal.
Yeah.
But like, definitely like the culture of like Shazam. To me, Shazamming is kind of cheating. But if you just pass, because I feel like if you just ask the DJ what the music is, they'll just tell you.
I hear you.
But it's different for you. It's different for you.
No. I mean, listen, I Shazam the music because I want to hear the music at some point without you.
I'm just saying.
Without you DJing,
But you're a different consumer.
So, and then I listen. I legit. I'm like, oh, what is this song? And you just for me, it's like it's just my opportunity. I mean, I think one there's a very interesting dynamic, of like me going to a party and seeing everybody go off for a song and me not know it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh damn, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm really intrigued. That's why I'm like, I go to the I'm like, what is this? For me, like, I have to be in the moment. So really now for me, what bothers me is that everybody's on their phones at parties. Like, even as a DJ, it's very bothersome.
Yeah.
Even though they're doing videos, they're not really taking in the music and the experience now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I think maybe some other DJs feel me on that, but also like, it's just a part of the times now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a part of the times that people are going to be on the phones in concerts. I do more events like that. And just like, you want to see those artists have the moment where all the people in the club have their lights up and videotaping the performance.
Yeah.
But also you want to have that moment where people are just totally enthralled with the event.
Yeah.
And I feel like definitely people have that balance at certain events and certain type of get-togethers.
Yeah.
Where they have the people who are totally enthralled. I think one thing you guys do well, you have different experiences for different people. You got the music, you got the photos, you got the food, you got the drinks, you got the artist performing, you got the art. That totally makes its own little kind of world.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, like, I just think, honestly, as I'll ask any promoter to really think about the environment they're creating.
Yeah.
Don't just be out here trying to just do parties to throw parties. Think about what type of like environment you're creating, what type of mindset you want to give people to come to your event.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Like, I was, as you do events, you learn along the way. Like, I think Momo was the first DJ that I followed. I never followed DJs before. I was following, venues.
Yeah.
And, and parties, but mostly venues or experiences.
Yeah.
And then I started following Momo and then kind of connecting with him and just kind of like understanding like these nuances and just picking up these little things, to the point where now, me walking into a room, I'm like,
you can tell if the DJ is good or not.
Well, not even about the DJ being good or not, just more so speaking to you creating an experience, experiencing the vibe. I could be like, turn these lights down, or what does this sound like, or where should the tables be placed, or, or just all those little things, the details which create the whole kind of experience. Like, there's a lot of parties that we did, or, that I was running, and I'd be like, this is too bright, turn these lights down. Like, what happened to the subs here? Or, even kind of figuring out where to position like different tables, or like, the host tables, or like, where is it that you want to kind of like position each table to be the maximum experience in the room. So all those details are kind of like things you learn along the way, and I apply them to the point where lighting, sound, just kind of like what what's the entry experience like? What's the door experience like? You know, like how is security treating people? You know,
Look,
that's
your security be treating me bad. I'll be like, y'all Maine's brother. Maine don't got no.
Well, you just don't know. You just don't know. And, you know, clearly anybody can say Maine's brother.
Look, everybody who's watching this video from Maine's friends, I'm his brother. I want no more problems at the door. No more problems.
Oh man, you just gotta text me and let me know.
But half the time you out here being a social butterfly. It takes like 30 minutes to get to the door.
Well, you know,
it's part of it.
No. You know, just whatever. I'll talk. I'll see what's up.
I don't mind it. I always have a great time with you,
There
bro.
we go. That's what matters.
But overall, I feel like I just want to just heap praise on you because I feel like you're doing dope stuff. Like he's the guy who does all the cool stuff. I'm just trying to be cool like him.
Oh man, you know,
I'm like, look, if I can come out in my later 30s looking like this guy with a salt and pepper, I think my girlfriend would be happy.
You'll be fine, bro. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. My blood is in your blood, so there we go.
Yeah, that's all that matters. But guys, I really appreciate y'all guys for tuning in. It's Facts Podcast with my brother Maine J Buchanan.
Shouts.
I don't know if you cool with me giving the full government out.
You said Maine Buchanan, or you want what?
I said Maine J.
That's Maine J Buchanan. That's
you okay with the full government out there?
Isn't that your name as well?
Do I have to get my government out now?
I mean, are you okay with saying Maine J Buchanan?
I'm okay with saying it because it's you. It's not me.
That's fine. So the same way. Okay, there we go. It's all good.
It's your boy DJ Spyda, the Don alias. But it's Facts Podcast, of course. Once again, I really appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I definitely appreciate
what you're doing as well.
I really appreciate your point of views and definitely what you came to talk about. I feel like it's important for not even just for people to experience their culture, but black spaces.
Yeah.
And I feel like one thing that Everyday People does well is to provide not just a safe space, but a black experience that talks from different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. You know, definitely thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Love what you're doing. Keep on up.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I'm always here for you.
Wait till 2021, y'all. This Rona thing a little too out of to go your next Everyday People.
We'll be back. I'm ready for everybody.
Of course, you can check out It's Facts Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, of course, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. Of course, it's your boy DJ Spyda the Don. Thank you and have a good night. And please share the live stream so people can get this knowledge and blessings. All right?
Peace.
Right, quick. All right.
All right.
Have a good night.
Later.